And this is one of the most profound innovations of our time. So my conviction, and it's born out of our research, it's born out of great research that Yassine, Frank, and David are doing now, as well as what Chris has done, and the community largely. So there's no doubt in my mind. And, many people think that I'm too confident in not just with Bitcoin, but all of our strategies. We face the same kind of pushback with all of our innovation strategies. This is nothing new. This feels the same. It's a little different to explain, but it's not a company, so more finance, but it's a monetary system, which is economics, and I'm comfortable in both of those zones.
Undeterred by the market sell-off this year, ARK Invest founder and CEO Cathie Wood doubled down on disruptive innovation stocks and predicted deflationary trends will continue into next year. Hello and welcome to Money Talks. In today's video, CEO and CIO of ARK Invest, Cathie Wood, updates about her outlook on Bitcoin, Fed policies, and inflation. She also speaks about the importance of investing in innovative technologies, uncertainty of Fed's decision-making, and the deflationary signals.
We get questions all the time. I think people love to hear our take on, but crypto broadly.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
But what we talk about is, in the way I just described Bitcoin, that's the money revolution. And then we have the financial services revolution, DeFi, a little more centralized, and then we have the next generation internet revolution around digital property rights. And I realize all of these involve property rights, but when you're talking about the creator economy and the blending of consumption and investment, it's probably even more centralized and in that third bucket. I think when people hear us describe this new world, especially young people, it hits a responsive chord. And the young people are bringing their parents into it. So that's an interesting dynamic. That really hasn't happened in my career before.
Right.
Yes. And they're bringing ARK to their parents as well.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wood continued to espouse her playbook of investing in disruptive technology and growth companies despite big losses for her fund this year, as many of her stocks have plunged from pandemic-era highs in 2020. ARK's flagship fund, the ARK Innovation ETF, is down over 60% in 2022 compared to a 25% drop for the benchmark S&P 500, as rising rates have hammered tech stocks.
Well, we just published an open letter to the Fed today.
Okay.
And basically said, wait a minute. How can you be unanimous in your decision-making, you Fed board members, unanimous at the last few votes, when there's so much conflicting evidence out there? And yes, we feel as though the Fed is making a mistake here, and that, yes, high beta stocks, which would be our kinds of stocks, more volatile than the market, do get hit disproportionately. But something's happening now, and it's happening with Bitcoin as well, which I find very interesting. So our strategy bottomed intraday, the flagship, on May 12th. And the S&P and NASDAQ have broken below their lows. Last week, they broke below their last lows. We did not. Now, maybe I'm jinxing myself, and we will now, but our strategy has held up better since May. And same with Bitcoin. After the volatility in May. It's held in much better. It hasn't hit new lows, successive new lows. It's in a range, much like our strategy is. During a bear market and towards the end of a bear market, our strategy starts outperforming. Why? There's a saying in our business that the new leadership shows itself toward the end of a bear market. It starts outperforming. So at the end of 0809, for example, I was at a different firm, but our flagship strategy bottomed in relative terms November 24th. I remember it well. And yet the market didn't bottom until March of '09. And in the first quarter, the market, as measured by the S&P, was down 10%. We were flat. And then we came out flying. And I'd like to think that's what's going to happen. The problem is the Fed here. And in the piece we wrote today, we said, please consider the conflicting evidence and at least debate. Talk about the risk of centralization. This is a massive risk because it's not just the Fed. It's not the Fed board members. It's probably one member, and that's Powell, who's insisting on unanimity in their fight against inflation. So what they've just done is raised interest rates 13-fold from 0.25 on the Fed funds rate to 3.25. And they're going to go to 4, we believe, on November 2nd. That's a 16-fold increase in interest rates.
Wood has been a vocal critic about the central bank's monetary tightening and interest rate hikes, writing an open letter to the Fed on Monday warning about a policy mistake. The unanimity of Fed governors is worrying, she said, pointing out that the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell think that this is the 1970s. The fund still boasts an annualized return of nearly 10% since inception in 2014, when Wood founded the firm. As rising to fame and surging nearly 150% in 2020, her flagship ARK Innovation Fund fell 24% in 2021, losing over a fifth of its value while the S&P 500 was up 27%.
So when we started ARK, we had 4 technology platforms: genomic sequencing, robotics, energy storage, and then next generation internet. Brett Winton, our director of research, when we were at AllianceBernstein together, was occasionally bringing into our brainstorm on Fridays this thing called Bitcoin. So that really started in 2011. We started ARK in 2014. I guess we had gone through Mt. Gox, and so we said, okay, let's start with next generation internet. And as time went on and we did our research on Bitcoin, and the first paper we wrote was in 2015, and it was in collaboration with Art Laffer. And so I said, Art, I want you to take this paper, Can Bitcoin Serve the 3 Roles of Money? And I want you to tear it apart. Now, Art is known for his fiscal policy expertise, but his mentor was Robert Mundell, who won a Nobel Prize for his monetary theory. And he was very involved in bringing the euro together. So I don't know how people feel about that these days, but nonetheless.
I'm glad we're not part of it.
Yes, there you go. So then, so Art did rip it apart, and which was fantastic. And he came back to us and he said, I've been looking for this ever since we went off the gold exchange standard. He said, it's a rules-based monetary policy, rules-based monetary system. And I said, and he said, I may not agree with the rule, because he was thinking more in terms of inflation. So you'd want a price rule as opposed to store of value, which quantity. He says, but it's okay. It's a rule, and we need to get back to this. And I said to him, Art, how big could this be? And he said, well, how big is the U.S. monetary base? Now, Bitcoin was $250 at that time. So it was roughly a $6 billion network value or market cap. And I said, he said, how's the monetary base? I said, it's $4.5 trillion. He said, there's your answer. I said, really? And I immediately, I put a lot of money, especially our analyst, Chris Bernisky at the time.
Wood described that ARK has reacted to the market turmoil this year by concentrating portfolios on our highest conviction stocks. She has reduced her number of holdings but put that money to work by adding to favorite big-name positions such as Tesla, Zoom, and Roku. The ARK Innovation ETF currently has 34 stocks, down from 57 earlier this year. Wood believes her fund will once again outperform the market once the economic pain from the high inflation and the Federal Reserve's rate increases subside. Anyone who bets against American innovation in the long term is likely doing bad business, she argued. So, do you agree with Cathie Wood's outlook on inflation and macroeconomic growth? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon with the next video. Thank you so much for watching.